joining the demo today. Appreciate your time. And today we're going to be taking a look at TimberScan from Core Associates. My name is Sailor Howell, and I work for Core Associates. I used to work for Timberline years ago, and back in 2005, 2006, several years there. And I worked with Bernard in the early days of TimberScan. And I brought TimberScan into some of my clients that I sold Timberline to. And what I found is that it was a big success at that point. And all we were doing was AP routing and approval, which is kind of what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about a couple other things as well and see how it's evolved and how that would adapt to you guys. So what I found is, I kind of watched the market, watched what Bernard and the team were doing over the years. And I came to work with Bernard about a year and a half ago, and I found that those clients that we brought on the TimberScan back then are still clients today. And we went from about 50 clients to about 1,500 and nearly 30,000. So it's been a big story of success, and that's why I came to work for TimberScan, and it's been awesome. So our customers have been very faithful to us, and we've really seen a lot of big strides over the years. So I wanted to take a quick poll and see who is anybody currently using TimberScan? Wow, okay. And then a few people are, okay, cool. All right, well, for those of you that are already using TimberScan, this might be a little bit of a review in some points. There will be some things that have changed even with the TimberScan you might be interested in. And so we'll go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. So we're just going to go through 3 quick slides, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the software. So a couple of important points that I like to start out with when we're talking about evaluating TimberScan or the associated products in the suite TimberScan is we're really talking about taking critical business issues, things that are a headache every day, that are costing money, and whether that be in just mundane tasks that people are having to focus on, or maybe it's just a lot of paper coming in from the field to the office and back and forth. Whatever that might be, it might be Sage reporting that we're having some trouble with. So we're going to talk about a lot of that. But 2 kind of important points is that TimberScan and Core Associates are a Sage development partner. There's 2 points here. There's a lot of companies out there that are interfacing, integrating with Sage, that are really kind of islands of software throwing information back and forth. But what we are is a Sage development partner. So we've been a Sage development partner since 2004. And our clients, what they see is they see that this translates to an easier user experience at the end. We can develop a little bit of software and get a whole lot of results. So as our clients come to us and they say, hey, do you guys have anything that could monitor my email and bring all my invoices into a dedicated email inbox into TimberScan? Well, yeah, we do. And those are things that, requests that have come in that we've been able to rapidly develop because of this relationship between us and Sage. So the other thing is that TimberScan is not only a Sage development partner, but we were the only AP routing and approval workflow system designed for Sage, or as many of us know at Timberline. So if there's anybody else that you hear saying that they were designed exclusively for Sage, doing AP routing and approval, let us know. We'd be happy to discuss it. So we think that's real important. If you're built for it, you're going to work the best. So a couple of things that we'll go over today. The basic system here in the black tiles you can see, the AP routing and approval system, and AIM, Enterprise Content Management. So AIM, for those of you who don't know what AIM is, AIM came about because we built our success on the AP routing and approval system, and our clients came to us and they said, hey, we love TimberScan, we love what it's doing for AP, but what do we do with everything else? We have job photos, we have checklists, daily reports, we might have change orders, checks, HR-related documents, and they're in a folder somewhere, or they're on a folder on a server, that's unsecure. What do we do with that? That's why we created AIM. And something for those of you who are already using TimberScan, AIM is now included with your TimberScan licenses. So that'll be a celebration for everybody. But so what we're doing is, if you don't have AIM currently, contact your Sage dealer and talk with them about getting a consultant to work with you on getting them going. So if you really want to go paperless, and you really have a desire to take everything in your entire office and make it paperless, then start using it. And we'll take a quick look at that today. So add-on modules to TimberScan, which we will take a look at a few of these today, are Capture, OCR here on the top. And basically by building templates for repeat vendors that we might work with or subs, we can auto-code invoices into the system. This is probably one of our more popular add-ons to TimberScan. Core Cloud Systems, frankly, is starting to steal the show, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. If you want to take a deeper look into it, we'll be showing it downstairs in the official report as well. And we have a few sessions that you can look up on the app that you can look strictly at Core Cloud Systems. But Core Cloud Systems is a tool that's really changing the software industry as a total, not just this industry. And what I mean by that is it's making you, or giving you the control to send information wherever you want on any kind of device. That may sound like a lot, but basically what we're doing is there's a lot of companies that are going to these shows and they'll come up to me at the booth and they'll say, hey Sailor, we've got 4 company initiatives. One of those is we're looking for a time entry system. We're looking for something to help us with credit card reconciliation. We're even looking for a better way to do purchasing and inventory. And do you have anything that can help us with kind of expense management? And who would you recommend we go to? Well, there's a lot of great vendors here, but what I tell them is have you looked at Core Cloud Systems? Because all of those things and a lot of other things allow you the flexibility to configure your own processes, and whether it be on the phone or the tablet or in the office, we can do your forms your way and have everything on the cloud and move it where you want. So I know that sounds like a lot of stuff, and it is. We'll take a look at it. It's actually very simple. Mobile approvals is exactly that. It's approving, rejecting, making changes to invoices on a mobile device. We'll take a look at that as well. In Commander is fairly new within the product suite. It's kind of a sleeping giant, but we expect really big things with Commander. What we're starting to see with Commander is our clients are using it for automating their Sage reporting today and automating the delivery of how they move those reports around. A couple of quick examples. Something kind of common today is we need to send out 100 check stubs to employees. Now, the process for that might be we take that check stub out of Sage, we print it to PDF, we attach it to an email, and then we send that on and maybe type the email. What Commander is going to do is we build that process in the back end so that instead of printing to PDF, you can now print to Commander, it's a print engine, and it's going to do all that for you. It'll generate all the PDFs, it'll attach all the emails, send them on to the employees for you, and then log them coded into your document management system. So we're taking something that takes days sometimes, hours, into literally seconds. People are using this for sending out AR bills. You want to send out 20 bills, you can literally do it in a few seconds. Quite a few things. So we'll take a look at, we're talking about Commander today. We'll have it to show on the trade show floor. I don't have it to show here, but really excited about Commander. So let's take a look at, in terms of AP, and not just AP, but the whole office, what are some things that we can do to begin saving that $15, $18 that it costs per piece of paper to move around the office that the industry states. So the first thing here is that when we get documents into the office, they come in several different ways. Sometimes they come in on paper with a coffee stain on it and it's got a tear. Sometimes they come in from our subs, all kinds of different ways, right? Sometimes they come in from HD Supply and they're nice and neat and everything is typed on it. We allow you to pull it in any kind of way you want. So you want to scan it in, you want to drag and drop a PDF from an email. And like I mentioned before, pretty soon we will release the ability to monitor your company invoices or your invoices at yourcompany.com and pull those documents automatically into TimberScan for you. So if you pull documents into your system, into TimberScan, and you're using Capture, essentially, I can pull in 100 invoices, never pulled them in manually. They just came into TimberScan automatically from my email, and capture will recognize those 58 out of those 100 invoices that I have templates set up for and code them for me. So I start with invoices coded in the system. I never even have to pull that in. So once we pull documents in, we recognize they're not all like that. Some of them have writing on it and everything. So we go to step 2, initial coding. In initial coding, the only difference between this and Timberline and TimberScan is that in Timberline you have to fully code an invoice. But in TimberScan, you can partially code an invoice in case a subsequent approver down the line of approval might know that cost code or that GL account code that that initial data entry person didn't know. We then go to the approvals, and in the approvals, we can set up multiple levels of approval. We can base that on dollar thresholds. And if you want to route invoices based on different criteria, that's up to you. We can do that. Sometimes you want to route utility bills maybe on GL account code. And we have several project managers that are assigned to several different jobs. So we want to route based on job or maybe vendor. We can accommodate that and set up some hierarchy on how you want to set that up based on your business rules. So we recognize with nearly 30,000 users that not everybody works the same. So we built the system in a way that you can configure it to your process. And finally, final review, but before I go to that, approvers have the ability to pull out their phone or their tablet or their iPad and can approve on there and make changes. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. And each one of them is going to receive an email notification letting them know, hey, John, you've got 6 invoices to approve. TimberScan, you can log in all the time. Our last step here in number 4 is final review. This is typically an accounting function. It could be managerial staff, but at this step, we've put together what we call an electronic packet. So what that is my AP invoice and any supporting documents to go with that invoice. PO, receiving ticket, lien waiver, etc. Any backup that we want to go with it. And TimberScan is also going to create an automatic approval page, so you'll have an audit trail in with all your backup. But assuming that accounting says, hey, this is within budget, we're ready to pay it, and we have all the backup that we need, then you click accept, they finish that batch, 2 things happen. It's going to post these invoices to Timberline to be selected for payment. It's also going to include that docket of information, the AP invoice and the backup, into the invoice record. So we'll talk about a couple of variations of that, how we can do that with other documents as well. Any questions on that process so far?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
On the emails going to the project manager, say, is that once a day? Do you determine how frequent? Like, is it a one-off, or like Jimmy or Johnny gets 10 of them a day?
So yeah, so they won't get 1 for each invoice. They'll get 1 when that entire batch has basically been approved. And then through, yeah. So you might have a batch with 20 invoices in it, and 3 are put on hold, and 1 was put on hold in AP, but the rest of them were coded and sent on. Then they'll see the rest of those invoices will go out to project managers. So John had 6 that moved on, right? And John sees I got 6 invoices to approve in TimberScan, and then Bob had 10 from that batch. So this is TimberScan. And you'll notice we have a dashboard here in kind of the center of the screen. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the demo, a little bit later in the demo. But here on the top, we have a few tabs that just follow the life cycle of an invoice. And I'm going to take you through the life cycle of that invoice. And within this, we're going to talk about other documents as well. So we start with acquiring images at the top left. We then go to data entry, approvals, final review, reports, and inquiries. Okay, so we're going to start with acquiring images. This wouldn't just necessarily be AP invoices. This could be checks. If you're using Empirical, create a check or print box for your checks, we can automatically pull these in. You don't have to use this acquire images screen. We have an auto attachment check feature later on in the software that I'll show you. Any supporting documents, any backup to those invoices, we can pull those in here as well. But once I start here, I can pull invoices in a couple of different ways. If I have a network scanner or a 3-way fax copier printer here on the left, those will populate in here. We can pull them in that way. We can select a file on our computer or server and go ahead and find that file and pull it in. I have a few invoices here on my desktop. I'll go ahead and pull them. I'll just drag and drop these here. And if I had a PDF from an email, I can pull that in as well. But you see this invoice here is a little skewed to the right. I have a few edit options on the right, and I can scroll in or scroll out with my mouse and look at the invoice. So if it came in upside down, I can flip it. If it came in skewed to the right, I can deskew it, center it. I can add a text annotation if I'd like to. So I have some options there. But this first invoice, however, for service construction it's probably hard to see that, but it's 393 is the number. But the second page is a separate invoice, number 394. So to separate any invoices here in the system, all I do is press mark as new invoice. So you can see I could probably go through 30, 40 invoices pretty quickly. It's not too hard to change that. And if I need to grab one of these invoices on the left and move it around and join it to something else, I can do that. And that really points to, the main goal of this page here is to make sure that invoices are separated properly and they're legible for processing. That's all. So a couple of other options. We've had a lot of requests for this. Is there any way that we can route invoices and documents without having to start coding? So that's what we created these bottom two areas on the right for. So if you have different offices, maybe the north office and the south office, or different areas of processing, we can set up these data entry groups here. If you want to get even more granular, maybe you have your utility bills. You don't want to go out to John and Bob out in the field. You want those to go to an automatic approval. You can set that up here as a document type, an invoice type, or maybe your legal invoices are going to the attorney. You want them to go directly to the attorney. So you have several different options. These are all user defined. But I'll go ahead and process these invoices here. And then we go to data entry. So when I go to data entry, I'm actually going to pull up a second invoice here. And what you'll start to see is this Sage development partner relationship as we start going through these screens. And you probably aren't able to read that. This is a vendor insurance warning popping up here. But you'll start to see that TimberScan is more of a window or a portal into your Sage system than it is that separate island software like I was talking about. So we truly have a bi-directional integration of information going back and forth. And for any of you TimberScan users, can test me if I'm saying something out of line. So we'll start here coding our invoice. And what you'll notice is that at the center or the bottom of the screen here, we have a coding grid that is very similar to what we're doing in Timberline. So if we know how to use Timberline, we'll almost be able to use TimberScan right away. Really the only difference is that we're going to do all of our data entry here in TimberScan, and instead of using AP, we can now do everything in TimberScan, with the exception of really cutting our checks. So we would start coding here, and I can use my list function just like I do in Timberline. Any of my function keys will still work here, and it calls up my vendor master file. So I'll pull up power equipment rentals, my vendor insurance warning pops up. I then go to start to code my invoice. And if this invoice exists in either Timberline or TimberScan, in either system, it's going to let me know that's a duplicate. So I'll continue coding the rest of this invoice here. But before I do, since I did get this duplicate warning, let's assume that we don't remember this invoice coming into the system. What we can do is click on this history button here on the bottom, and TimberScan is going to give me an inquiry into all the invoices for this particular vendor. So this is going to be a lot like inquiries that you'll see throughout the system here. And I'm going to point to two real important points of information here within the system. That, of course, we can click the top of any one of these column headers and sort. We can drag one of these to the top, sort by status or whatever information is here. But we're looking for a specific invoice, 24011. So I have all of the images on the right. So there's the invoice we were working with before. I have a sticky note on it. Now TimberScan is going to create this automatic approval page. I can see that Rebecca Gibson received and entered this invoice at this time and date. It was approved by Doug, and Michael Perkins reviewed and posted it at this time and date. If we had scanned in signatures, they would show up for these users here in this empty box. And we also have a purchase order on the left that somebody attached and a copy of the check. So you can see this invoice packet is already built in this case. And this is what we want. So if that's already been processed and paid, we don't need to pay it. But I want to point your attention to these grayed out boxes here on the right that say no image. All of this data here never touched TimberScan. So on day one, what happens is we're pulling in all your historical and all your current data from Timberline into TimberScan. So we're now reporting off of those systems. So that's one thing that's going to happen right at the onset. The other thing is that this data entry grid is, this is my data entry grid, and this is only replicating what I have set up in my Sage system. So you might have different fields in your Sage system. That's okay. It's just going to replicate what you already have set up in your Sage system. So another thing that happens automatically. And a lot of people, when we're changing softwares and we're looking at bringing something new on, it's kind of a big headache sometimes, and there's a little bit of a fear factor to that, because do we have to do some big conversion? Are we going to have to start with an empty shell of software and enter data in for a long time? What TimberScan's doing with pulling in all that information in from Timberline, we don't have to worry about that. So let's continue coding our invoice here. So I've got commitment, and for my commitment set up here. For those of you that are using commitments or have talked to your consultant about using commitments, this will be a real helpful feature, but we won't spend a lot of time on it. So again, I can click on list, and it's going to pull up my commitments for that vendor. So I select my commitment. Now it pulls up jobs, and it's only pulling up 2 jobs, and I have a lot more set up in TimberScan and Timberline than just those 2. So it's pulling up what's tied to that vendor and what's tied to that commitment. So TimberScan is yielding to the rules of how information is tied together and set up in Timberline. So I'll select my job here, and it pre-fills the rest of my data based on how it's tied together. I can do my multiple lines of distribution, no problem. And this really leads me to kind of the main point of TimberScan API, which is that within this screen here, we've designed it in a way that we've given you all the financial visibility that you need to make a solid decision on any given invoice without having to go back and forth between 2 systems, and we've done that 3 ways. So the first way is this quick view window here on the right. And I know that's hard to see, but basically this is giving me the committed amount that I've chosen that's in job cost. It's telling me what's been invoiced against that commitment in Timberline, what's been invoiced against it in TimberScan, the balance between the 2, any retainage or anything left to pay. If this invoice is going to take me over the committed amount, these numbers will turn red and I'll get a pop-up. So we have some live controls that now prevents you from having to have project managers go back into job cost, or accounting folks having to go back into job cost and take a look. Are we within budget? So some of those concerns start to go away. The second way that we've given you this financial visibility is that if you hover over any area in TimberScan that you see coding, in inquiries or in the coding window here, you get these tooltips. So I get the same job cost information of that commitment by hovering over the commitment. I can see this job was for Northwest Food Warehouse. I see the revised contract amount, job to date bill. For this cost code, it's for dewatering. I can see revised estimates, variances, and so on and so forth. For GL account, amount, I get a lot of really good information right there. So again, we're preventing duplication of effort. The last area here is this job button here on the top. And this may look like a lot of data. I really don't want to bore you guys to death with a bunch of minutia, but I call this the one-size-fits-all report, and all it really is we have our vendors, we have our header information for our invoices, accounting date, payment date, that kind of stuff, and then our coding, if I scroll to the right, we'll have our coding there, and of course our images will be on the right as well, like they were before. So the reason why this is important, and the flexibility that this gives you, there's all my images, there's a log of whoever touched these documents, what they did with it, and when. The real power here is, if you're the president of the company, if you're the guy out in the field, if you're the controller, it doesn't matter. This is something that you can use to find what you want right away. And the reason that you can do that is, let's say that we wanted to take a look at a particular job or a particular vendor, see where are we month to date, what's open, what's fully paid, that kind of stuff. So I can take vendor name here, and let's say I want to drag it to the top here. And I want to look at a specific vendor. So power equipment rentals, who we were just looking at. I need to see every invoice for power equipment rentals by status. So I drag that to the top. And let's see what's still open for them so we can kind of get a look at our financials. But not only do I want to see what's open, but I want to also see by counting code. So you kind of get the idea. I can sort this however I want. If I messed up, I can start over and drag these back to the bottom. And that's great. It's great to be able to do that. But the real power here is what can we do with information that we have within the system. So if I go to this report button here on the top, I can send this to a printer, a viewer, a PDF, and I can send a report with all the images combined in one file. This is our customer's request. That's the only reason this exists here. And what they did is they came to us and they said, Bernard, we need some help putting together all this backup. We have to go pull a crystal report. Hopefully it's the right crystal report. And once we get it pulled, then we have to go to a document box or to a file cabinet and pull all the invoices one by one by one by one as backup. TimberScan does that for you. So I'll show you a quick example of that. So I have one pulled up here. It's pretty basic. Cost code on the left. I've got vendors, status, description, and amount. And at the bottom here, I've got all my invoices associated with that. And I can literally do that in a few seconds. Okay, so a few other options. We're not going to approve every invoice that comes in the door, right? So what do we do with this invoice at this point if there's an issue, maybe a pricing issue or something? First, before I go into that, I want to point out that this data entry grid is kind of getting in the way. So if I needed to put that onto another monitor or maybe on the side, and that's more easy for me to do data entry, we make this flexible so you can use the system how you want to. Okay. But let's say that the invoice is in the door. Certainly we have some kind of packing slip or lien waiver or purchase order or something like that to go with it. So we just come down here to supporting documents, and it opens up our central repository for supporting documents. We just go down and select which one we have, a delivery ticket, maybe a credit card receipt or something. We click attach at the top, and then that would show up as a second page to this invoice here. And that's how we start building this electronic packet. Okay? So this invoice came in for $1,200. This may not have happened to anybody in the room, but let's say we didn't agree to $1,200, we agreed to $1,000, and they sent us an invoice for more than what we agreed to. Well, what we can do is we can go up here to hold, put this invoice on hold, and then we can call that vendor and straighten out the pricing issue. It won't hold up the rest of the batch for payment or for processing. We can continue to process that batch of invoices. But on the other side of that coin, let's say that somebody did some work for us. Maybe we self-perform everything, but this was a real specific area, and we have somebody to come in and do some work for us. They sent us the invoice. Hey, this is exactly what we asked them to do. Same amount. They did a great job, but their vendor insurance was expired. So we need to straighten that out before we pay them. What we can do is we can put this invoice on hold in AP for payment. We'll process it through all the approvals here in TimberScan. It'll just be on hold for payment until we release that hold and straighten out that issue. So you don't see that button here on the top, on the bottom, because this user doesn't have the roles and rights to press that button. So you can enable and disable certain functions by user. Sometimes you don't want the guys out in the field looking at all the settings and having to go through all the same reports that somebody in accounting might go through. You want them to be able to approve, maybe do some coding, some real basic functions. So we're able to give you that flexibility. But if we're done with this invoice, we like the invoice, we're ready to pay it, we click accept at the bottom, we move on to the next one and the next one in line in that batch or that session, and we click finish to give us a quick summary and we move on. At that point, that's when the emails go out, and that's also when the notifications show up on their iPad or their phone, and they can then log in and go ahead and approve their invoices from there. So I'm going to point to a couple of other real quick options before I move on, and then we'll look at how we would auto-code invoices within the system. Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you would just drag status to the top and then sort by whatever vendor that might be or job or however, and it'll pull all those up with the images. I believe you can. You can comment. Yeah, and you can have those print on the invoice as well if you like. Yes. Yeah, you can try. Good question. Okay. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Okay. So, last couple of things here. I'll just tell you, I'm not a big fan of email and separate pieces of software. I like Outlook. But what we've done with email here is we access all of your Timberline, all of your TimberScan, and all of your global address list in Outlook. So what we're able to do is access all those and just select which ones you want. It auto attaches your invoice. You can add other attachments if you want, and copy yourself so it goes to your Outlook email. And go ahead and send it off from here. You know, if the guy's out of town and he still needs to see some invoices or something like that. All right, if we don't want to clutter up the invoice with a sticky note, we can add comments, and this would be where you asked that question. We would add comments here, and they would populate for the next user before he can affect the next invoice, or affects this invoice down the line. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So let's assume that we didn't have to do anything that we just did. Maybe we could autocode all of these. So for those of you that are working with a lot of the same vendors, a lot of the same subs, and they aren't the sub that gets the copy stamp on the invoice, they're the ones that actually give you pretty good quality invoices. You might consider using Capture to autocode those. Capture works the best when we'll tell people pick your top 6 or 8 vendors to give you the best quality that you're getting a lot of invoices from and use them for that. And that's really where we see the most success. But the idea around using Capture is that, and I'll go in here and actually create a template and show you how easy that is. But the idea is that we would set up one template for one vendor. And then under that template, we can set up multiple what we call profiles. Now profiles, what they are is it's just a different way to differentiate one invoice from a vendor from another invoice from that same vendor. So you might have some invoices that have the job on it. You might have some invoices where they put the purchase order on, but maybe that's not true at all. Maybe for utility bills you have an account number or a phone number. So, but this is differentiating information that you can start to set up these different profiles, like have a profile for every job. And I'm explaining a lot of this and not showing it because the screen's kind of small. But I have one here for AAA insurance, and I have a profile for the Clackamas job and the Fort Wayne job. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and build a template right here in front of you. Let me pull up our PDFs here. So all we're doing here is we're teaching the system how to recognize an invoice once it comes into the office. Okay? But we're going to start by selecting anchors. And what that is just different areas or zones on the page that the system can start to recognize by those different points. Who is this from? And if you guys are familiar with OCR technology, especially in check scanners and that kind of thing, it's not a perfect science. And we know that, and so we took out the guesswork. We feel like the most important thing to know about an invoice when it comes in the door is who is it from. And if we know who is it from, then the rest of the stuff can come pretty easily through OCR. So that's why we use anchors. And so we're going to pick a couple of different areas on here that are always on this invoice from this vendor. They always put their name on the top, of course. They always put statement number on the bottom, date. Amount due, they always say, thank you for your business here, and some other comments. So now the system will recognize this invoice based on these different points. We then go to a step called identifier. An identifier is where we set up our profiles. So in this case, they set the job on these invoices. Again, it could be a PO number or something else. We had a lady that came to us and she said, "Hey, Capture looks really cool, but we rent about 100 pieces of equipment on our various jobs around the city from one vendor. Can we set up?" They put the equipment code on the invoice. Can we set up profiles for that? I said, "Well, yeah, it'd be 100 profiles." I said, "That took a long time." And I said, "Well, let's see. Let's set up a profile." And so it took about 20 seconds. So she spent, a couple hours in the morning setting up all of her profiles. But now 100 different invoices that come in from that vendor, it will see who's it from, it'll see the equipment cost code, and she can set up some default coding off of that. So literally the scenario is, and I'll repeat this again after we're done here, but the scenario is I scan in 100 invoices, or 100 invoices come in through email monitor, right? 57 of those have templates set up for Capture. Well, then 57 of those start with all the header information, all the coding ready to go into TimberScan without anybody having messed with it. Now, they will have to separate it in the beginning, but we will be going to a completely automated piece pretty soon. So let's walk through the last couple of steps here and we'll move on. All right, so we're going to go to invoice number. I'll drag that to the top. And I just center this window over that information. And on the left, I make sure that the OCR read it correctly. Then I go to invoice date. And then I'm going to go to description and amount, all that kind of stuff. And we can pull in multiple page invoices, no problem. But you kind of get the idea. We're just centering these to make sure OCR reads it. We need to go back in after the fact and recenter something or optimize that template. We can do it, no problem. So I'll skip through the rest of this wizard here. And we give the template a name. Now I set up a profile. So I'm done with the template. If I wasn't explaining the template and we were just going through it, I could probably do that in a couple of minutes. I'm going to give this profile name under Clackamas Office Park. Now I confirm that it's from AAA Insurance, and I confirm the job, Clackamas Office Park. I can default code at this point. Anytime an invoice comes in AAA Insurance for the Clackamas Office Park, I want it to be tied to this commitment for them to move this. I want it to be tied to this cost code, and I want it to pay from this construction company. So I can get as detailed or as simple as I want. So again, the basic idea here, if I go back into TimberScan, the way that would come across would be like this here. So I have my color-coded boxes at the top. You can see where I read this information. All my header information is here, including the vendor, and it pulled in my default coding here. Some people, when I'm on demonstrations, they say, "Does it only pull in the first line?" And I say, "Yeah, because it's default, right?" And then they say, "Well, that's kind of a drawback for us, and why would we use Capture?" What our clients tell us is that they're glad that there's a step of approval or review before they just send it on to all the project managers out in the field. And to add a couple of lines of distributions, that doesn't take 20, 30 seconds. Yes, sir.
But if you use your package, it'll bring in all of these.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good to see.
So you got 10 line. So lots of difference on the invoice, and you'll see our screen record that we put it there.
Yep. So any questions on Capture? No? Okay. All right, well, we're going to take a look at, we've taken some invoices through Capture, and we have, we've automatically generated some through Capture, and then some of them we've manually entered. So I've got my iPad in my hand here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up as if we were an approver. I'm out in the field, and I've got some invoices to approve that we've just sent over from Capture. Let me make this a little bit larger. All right, so you can see here, TimberScan, I have my TimberScan app here. I've got a 1 at the top that shows how many invoices I have in my queue. When I select TimberScan, it's going to bring up the invoices that are in the queue for me. Most of the time it does that. Actually, every time besides now. There we go. This is syncing actually back to our server with Core Associates. We have a lot of different devices connected to this, and this is my demo data. But basically what the system is going to do is give us preliminary information, coding information, header information on our invoices right here at the onset. And this is what I've already been editing. Obviously, you can see some of that. And if this moves around a little bit, my daughter dropped my iPad a couple of weeks ago, so I've got a crack across the top. So my apologies. But basically what this is going to give me the ability to do is the same basic functions that I get in TimberScan. So, and I don't have to have an internet connection, which is an important distinction. When we get back into an internet connection, it's going to update with any changes we made here or any new invoices that need to come into our queue. Okay? The reason why we created mobile is not to stay up to date with technology. The reason why we created mobile is our clients came to us and they said, hey, we've got these guys out in the field that have been with us for 20 years. They're the best at what they do. We would never get rid of them. But they have an issue adopting technology because they have to leave the job site to sit in front of the computer for several hours. And we don't want them to have to do that. Is there anything you can put in our hands, put in their hands, that virtually requires no training that they can use day one? This is it. So when we come in here, I can look at my invoice. Say down here. I can zoom into my invoice and look at different areas of it. On the right, I have all my header information. So if Susan called from the office and she said, John, you didn't get your invoices again this month. It's the last day of the month. I need you to move them on to the next month. I can go in here and change that. Change it to another month or change the amount. I have my data entry at the bottom. So if I go in here and the initial data entry person entered, maybe didn't enter a cost code, I have all the same valid lookups of information that's in Timberline, in TimberScan obviously, but here in TimberScan Mobile as well. So I go in here and I add a cost code and a category for labor. So I'm literally not typing anything. I'm just selecting from the drop downs that already exist in TimberScan. And what TimberScan is doing, I should have mentioned this before, but it's syncing constantly in the background data and constantly looking for changes in data in your Timberline system. So if you had just added a few vendors or a couple new jobs, those are going to show up here. Not just here, but obviously in TimberScan. So if we needed to add a new cost code from this side, from the TimberScan side, we can do that and push it back with a step of the click. So there's truly a bi-directional integration. So if we needed to route this or maybe put it on hold, approve it, even email it at the top or add comments here on the bottom, you can see I marked it up earlier, and I did a really bad job of that. With this crack across my invoice, it's kind of hard to do that. But you get the idea. So we can go back to another one if we want. Filter invoices by job or vendor or what have you. And if I start typing, I have kind of a keyword or Google search style, and I can just start typing part of a job and we pull up all the invoices for that job. So we think this is a big win. Our clients do too. We just released mobile about a couple months ago, and we have, I think, about 15 clients using it. Oh, really? Okay, awesome. Yeah. We're real excited about it. And that brings me to a point. I want to just point out this. You guys are going to go to a lot of sessions while you're at the show and see a lot of different things. And, you know, I think that anytime you go to a session or look at a piece of software, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions in evaluating that software. One of those is, who is this company? Are they reputable? What kind of stuff have they been putting out? And also, these products that I'm looking at, are they released? Are their customers using them? Are they happy? That kind of stuff. Everything that you're looking at today, and I'm going to point to a few more areas in TimberScan, and we're going to look at Core Cloud. But everything that you're going to be looking at today is not just out, but it's tested and proven clients are using it. So I think that's an important distinction. So just a word of advice as you go through and look at different pieces of software. So any questions on mobile before we move on?
Is the functionality the same with Sage 100 as with 300? Or, you know,
for TimberScan, yes. So we do have a it's a little bit different interface, but we do have a product called T100, which is like TimberScan 300, but T100 that works and has the same workflow. for Sage 100. That is not out yet. So that'll be out in a couple months. We are looking for beta testers if you want to talk to us about that.
I'm a consultant, so I'm hard on this.
Oh, okay. Awesome. It's hard. Well, it's a smaller screen, right?
Yeah,
it's the same interface, but you know my invoice here is, if you cut all of this off, if you crop it just to that, it's going to be kind of like, we'll see our thumbnails, we'll scroll through them, click them, we get our invoice, we can zoom in, zoom out, same kind of stuff. It'll go to a different window for our header information, our coding. That will come up by itself. So we tried as much as possible to optimize 4 inches of space or 6 inches of space. Alright, how are we doing on time? 11:16, okay. So we go to 12 o'clock, I think, on this one. Alright, one other point of approval, one other option that you guys have, and then we'll move on to the rest of this invoice. One of the points of approval is we can use these dashboards, and this isn't just for approvers, but accounting personnel can use this as well. And I have the ability to go in here and select what kind of invoices do I want to see. This is not just a preset dashboard. Maybe I want to see invoices by base to discount, but I don't want to see invoices by job. I want to see my vendor. So I can select this on the fly, what I want to see, and then but select and come into this screen here. Now I have the ability to see, how do I want to see my invoices? Do I want to see them in this card view and look at the thumbnails and select them one by one, or select all to approve? Or do I want to see them in this list or grid view? Whatever is more convenient for you, we provide both of those. So maybe I want to approve these against the last day of the month. I'm familiar with all these invoices, they're all good, let's go. So we give you a couple of different options. But moving on, after all our approvals are done on the iPad, on their phones, and those invoices come back, and then we go to final review, and this is an accounting function. So at final review, or really any step in the process, you see this small window, this tells me, hey, what invoices do you want to look at? Do you want to see only job-related invoices for this job? Do you only want to see certain ones from this vendor or this company, or which ones do you want to look at? That way we don't have to shuffle through 40 invoices electronically. Maybe we have the vendor on the phone. You know, we need to go directly to that one. Similar screen as to what you saw before, except this is the completed packet. This is what we want to see at the end of the day. Our invoice, our approval page, supporting documents. We have our commitment information on the right. It's within budget. We're ready to pay it. We click accept, or in this case, Q for export. We move on to the next one. The next one is batch. We click finished. It moves on. That's when it posts to Timberline to be selected for payment. It also includes this docket or this packet of all this information in the invoice record in AP, which I'll show you now. I know I'm using an older interface in Sage. So if I go in here and do a quick AP transaction inquiry, this is a screen I'm sure you're all painfully familiar with. So I'll pick my vendor here, Power Equipment Rentals, and select my invoice 24011 that we were looking at before. If you're familiar with this attachment feature here on the top, TimberScan is going to include everything on that feature. So there's everything that we just looked at. It's on the Timberline or Sage side. We can email from here, we can print it, make changes. And if you have somebody that's not in TimberScan and maybe they're looking at this inquiry through job cost, because you set up an inquiry in about a minute and a half there. You want them to access it through there, access it through here. It's going to come to AP automatically. You can set up an inquiry in job cost if you want, but they don't have to go back to TimberScan to find you back up if you don't want to. You also do have an audit trail here as well. So I'm going to talk real quick about checks and one report, and then we'll jump into a couple of other pieces. How many people are using Creator Check or Print Box? Cool. Awesome. How many people are printing checks today? Everybody? Okay. So for those of you that are using Creator Check or Print Box, we have, you don't have to pull those in. We will automatically pull them from that software. For those of you that are not, you would take your check batches, pull them into that acquire images screen that we looked at first, and we would then go to this check or EFT, depending on side of the one, and attach them. So we come in here and pick our batch, pick our big account number, starting check number. And once we click attach, it's going to attach those check images up with the appropriate invoices that they're paying throughout the system, everywhere where it exists. The last point on checks is we have this review paid invoices option. So this is really more for the check signer. And this is another thing, another process within the office that TimberScan is doing automatically that's done very manually today. I'll jump in here, instead of going in by reviewing by EFTs, I'll go in by account and check. So I'm going to pick a bank account. I'm going to go and select my starting check number, and demo purposes, I'll click all checks. So what this is doing is, instead of somebody having to, again, do the mundane task of putting together all the backup with all of the invoices in the order of that check batch for the check signer, TimberScan is doing that for you here. So it's giving me all the check information on top, all of the invoice header information, all of my images that we just looked at before. We can check. We have our distribution information as well. So remember all of that window back in the job cost that gives us the financials? That's here as well. We can get even deeper into it if we like. But he looks at this and says, hey, we're signing this check. Let's go on to the next one. Click the next check and move on. Okay. As far as reporting goes, we're using Crystal Reports. If you have some that you like, that you want in the system, and you already have those in Crystal, we can map to that here. Probably the most commonly used Crystal report is this invoice status report. And it answers the question of, hey, who's got my invoices and where are they? And so right here we have 32 invoices out there. And by user, I can see data entry, final review, and TUG. We can see who's got them and what's going on. So I've got 19 in final review. Maybe it's the end of the month or the end of a job and we're really backlogged. We've got a lot of invoices in there. Maybe we need to sub somebody in to help out. So we've got all of our invoice information here, our images on the right as well. I can go back and look at a previous user if I need to. And then the last thing I'm going to point to here is I'm going to segue into AIM. What do we do with all of the documents? And but before I do that, are there any other questions in regards to AP, how we route invoices, what we do with those documents?
So it's really easy to scan because you take your whole stack of checks, start check number, scan them, and automatically attach them. So just by putting out that invoice from to the line from stage, go from TimberScan, just attach the button, we'll see multiple check payments, you see everything communicate to the user. Click on check, check EFT, so you see the EFT functions. So if there was an EFT payment, TimberScan does print out a form. Just scan that form as well. So you see, okay, you got a check. had that request. The problem is, and checks. We have some property managers who have problems. Since 50 checks for each property, there's no fees. But that's a
Great question. So I want to talk a little bit about document management, that idea. We've all seen some failed document management solutions out there. We've all seen had trouble with document management. We feel like document management is not that hard to do. There's just a few key features that you need when you're talking about what do we do with documents and how do we access data and how do we route it and that kind of stuff. Really the key features are we want to store information easily. We want to be able to find it after we store it the way that we want. And sometimes we need to move that data around. But there's a couple of different ways that you can do that, right? So this is why we created AIM, or Advanced Image Management. For those of you who are already using TimberScan, again, this is free to you now. For those of you that do not have TimberScan yet, this will be part of your TimberScan setup. And basically, if you're already a user of TimberScan and you want to use AIM, again, talk to a consultant about implementing that. The licenses will be free. So within TimberScan AIM, I'm going to just go through a couple of quick points, and then we're going to jump into Core Cloud. So here I have 7 workflow tasks today as this user. So there's a lot of documents we brought into the system. I brought in change orders, I brought in time cards, I brought in purchase orders, job photos, payroll increase requests, all kinds of stuff, right? So within the system here, I'm going to go in and approve change order because that was routed to me for approval. So we can really, by any document type, start to route these for approval. So I go on here and basically, I'll pull this up. So I've got a change order here, and I can go ahead and approve that, and it'll come off my list. But here on the bottom, I've got some coding for this change order. So anytime we pull a document into the system, now we can code it based on the criteria that you set. You guys might want to set up document categories based on your Timberline module. It could be only HR-related documents, estimating documents, service management documents, or whatever that might be. And then under that project management-related document, we might have lien waivers and change orders, etc., right? We have these document types. So literally by document type, we set up different coding. A lot of times today, you have different areas in the office or different areas on the server where you're trying to maintain these folders that are related to a job or related to a vendor or what have you. And instead of building out that job folder on your server or in your file cabinet somewhere, we can start to build out a job folder, not just in AIM, but automatically in Sage. So what I mean by that is that the same way that we attach that docket of information, those images in AP, all the backup and everything, we can do that by document typing in nearly any area or nearly any module in Sage. So you want to put, build out your job folder or your job record, job files with all job-related documents. It'll do that automatically because coding it to the job here as soon as I drag and drop it in. Another thing about AIM that's very unique is that if I have an email that has a budget on it, a contract, and a PDF, so a Word document, an Excel spreadsheet, and a PDF, and I drag and drop that into AIM, it's going to say, hey, do you want to process these separately, or do you want to process them together? So I get to tell it that, and it's going to pull it in its native format. So let's say I approve this change order, but I want to go back and I need to look at that budget. So I go in here and I search, and I want to see project management related documents. So I search, okay? But you know what? I want to see all project management related documents by job, by really any of the coding that I put in there. I can start to sort that the way I want, or by accounting data, or what have you. But I'm going to go down here to a project checklist, actually, and I want to view the image. So you see this image came up in Excel. Let me make Excel a little bit larger. So I went to that document. You see I put this John Believe I want another demo. So TUG and Summit, same week. All right, so I went in here in a budget or project checklist. I edited some information and I clicked save, right? Today, a lot of times we have to save this document, find the folder we want to save it to, right? We find that, then we go back into our document management system. We browse to find the document we just edited, and then we pull it into the system, right? What's happening here is I'm editing this document that was saved in its needed format. I click save, get out of Excel. But when I go back to AIM and I view that document again, look, TUG and Summit are in the same week again. So it's maintaining this document for me within the system, again, preventing duplicate. All right, so we've got this central repository of all of our documents and have this user-secure way that we can look up documents really by any criteria we want. The last thing I'm going to point out here, we're going to look at this in the cloud, with core cloud systems, and with our mobile devices. But what we're doing here in addressing this big industry issue of document management is, if I go back into Timberline here, and I'm going to go into job cost, and let's take a look at that job folder where those change orders were coded to, so you can see it on the other side. I think I coded that to the Northwest Food Warehouse. And here's my attachments. So I select one of the many attachments I've set up in my job folder there. And there's my change order. People use this for employee record, we call the time cards there, certifications, just a lot of different areas. So it's doing this automatically for you by how you set the coding up. And you can attach to multiple areas if you want. It's just done this setup. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how we do this, what we've just done with AIM. How do we do this and branch this out to the field as I do document management? Because frankly, the field is where a lot of these documents come from. And it's really where a lot of the backlog starts to come in the office. It's taking what happens in the field and translating it into our current system. Right? So we've got this idea of you can see here, eForms. It's now called Core Cloud, but it says to quit buying third-party apps. So that example I told you before of somebody coming up to me at TUG and at Summit saying, we got these 4 company initiatives, can you get some vendor recommendations? You know you can do all this here. This is the idea. This is complete document management. So we believe there's these kind of 4 core features of doing document management and data management, right? And so that first feature would be that within Core Cloud, it's a form wizard. So you build your forms your way. A lot of people are getting you stuck into what they think, forms that they think you should use. But they're not the customer, you're the customer. So your needs are a lot different than what another company's needs might be. So we give you the ability to configure your forms your way. Your form wizard. Pretty easy. What's cool about that is it's tying back to your current Timberline system and your TimberScan system. So all your cost codes, your vendors, your account codes, all the information that's in there can populate here. It also sets up workflow. So you want to set up workflows of approval. Just like we went through that in the last 45 minutes of TimberScan and routed those documents based on different criteria, email them, notified, all that kind of stuff. Same here. Reporting capability. That gives us the ability in several different ways to keyword search for information that's in these documents, to select what kind of things do I want in a report just off the fly and generate the report immediately and save it. And also the ability to, which has been a big challenge in the industry today, which is how do we set up a folder structure instead of an FTP site, instead of maybe our server is something that's not necessarily secure in terms of folder structure, is there an easy way that we can set up a folder structure that is user secure and have documents by department for those users? That's what we do here with mobile folders. Those are shareable. They can see them on their phone. They need to get to them, and they only see theirs. So we think those are kind of the 4 core features. And what we're doing here is that I'm a user logged in. I'm in the office. I'm also going to pull up my Samsung S7 here and show you this on my app there. But it doesn't really matter to the device as long as it's not an old bag phone or a Nokia phone. They should be able to access it. But basically, I can go to my documents here and just see, maybe I'm out in the field and they don't want me to see HR-related documents, so I'm not going to have access to that. But I have all the other documents that are related to me. And my inbox might be, I've got a few documents to approve, some purchase orders, change orders to approve, something else. And then my forms are exactly that. What forms did you guys give me the ability to see? So I go in here and take a look at my forms, and I'm only going to cover Core Cloud just for a little bit. If you guys really want to take a deeper dive into it, I encourage you to take a look at one of those sessions for Core Cloud. But the system out of the box is going to bring you a handful of canned forms ready to go that are editable. So we recognize that not all of these are the forms that you want, but we kind of give you some to start from. So I have a change order form. I have a change order request. I have a credit card form, expense sheet, a timesheet, a field purchase request. I don't know if that hits any of your needs, but these are pretty common for stuff that we might want to do from the field. Maybe we want to capture a picture of a lien waiver and do some quick coding and have that sent to the office to TimberScan as a supporting document. Maybe we want to create a purchase request from the field and do that on our field device, have that create a commitment and job cost, and send that image as a supporting document in the TimberScan to now attach to the invoice mechanism. Maybe you want to enter time from the field. So there's a lot of different possibilities that are at your fingertips and the guys up in the field. So if I go in here, I'm just gonna jump through a field purchase request. Or actually, I'll do a field purchase request, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about expenses and credit card reconciliation. So, field purchase request here. Actually, let me pull this up on my phone so that you can see, even if I'm using this interface, it's going to adjust to whatever device I'm using. I'll pull up my phone here. I saw it. It's not going to play with it. Okay. If I need to, I can just we'll show it to you on the other screens. Okay. All right. So it would look a lot like this, but the basic idea is that when I pull up my iPhone and I pull up my Samsung phone and I'm out in the field and I just went to somebody came over to me and they said, you know what, this is out of the scope of what we needed to do before. I need to do a change order, or I need to do a purchase request for some material that we just got. So I come in here and again, these are customizable by you guys. You want to add fields, you want to track weather conditions, you want to track mileage, you want to track maintenance. It's up to you. But I'm going to come in here and pick a date. My PO number auto-populated. I'll pick my vendor. So do you see that it's syncing with all my vendors back in the office? So you can see it. So my vendors come up here. My jobs as well. So these are table lists that I told the system, hey, in this form, I need to set a table list back to information that's already in Timberline to pull into the app. So now I select Northwest Food Warehouse, put in a cost code, summary of work, and this is literally point and click. I add a description, a quantity. Maybe at the bottom I want to capture a signature and then take a picture of a lien waiver, take a picture of some other document. Then it's going to email to whoever I preset in the background, or I can add some users to it. And it'll notify them, hey, document's been submitted, purchase order for your approval. It'll also email somebody else if we just need to have it into our email for some reason. So it's submitted from here, and basically that's going to route around to wherever we've set for that to go to. That's now going to go as well into TimberScan as a purchase order document. It's also going to be in AIM format. So all of these documents that I start to enter from the phone or in the office as a daily report or something else are all populating back into AIM format. So it's building out this folder structure that's coded that we can find just by keyword search or by selecting by job or what have you, like I mentioned before. So that's the kind of the basic idea around eForms. It's not just forms. There's a lot of reporting capability around that. I don't know if we want to talk about reporting and all that today, but and we can build these forms as we go. We help you build these forms when we come in and you say, hey, I've got this daily reporting. Hey, I've got this change order that we want to capture that information. But what we find is that a lot of our clients come to us for Core Cloud and they say, yeah, we don't just want these forms filled out in the field, but we have a need for credit card reconciliation. We have a need for, in purchasing and inventory in Sage. Today it doesn't do everything that we need. We have these other features that we need some help with. So that's what Core Cloud is. If you remember anything about Core Cloud, it's this, that today software companies create this box of software features to address a critical business issue that you have. And you go to that software company and you say, man, good price, it seems to have everything that we need, and we bring it in-house. But 2, 3, 4, 5 months in, you figure out, oh my gosh, it doesn't have these 8 features we really need, and they won't budge, they won't build the features out for us. So instead of being stuck in that feature set that they said you needed, now you can bust down the box, use Core Cloud, configure those features that you already need. So you're working with a system that's already got that box feature set, but also gives you the ability to configure it where you need the changes. So we think that that's a huge, huge value. And I'm going to go into what you can see as apps here on the left side. So there are those areas or those solutions that you might go to about time for if you're trying to do time entry. You might go for expense reports, you might go to Concur, or you might go to Expensify. These guys do a great job at what we do. But we're doing those same things for a fraction of the cost, and we're doing all the same basic functions, but they're configurable to the feature set that you need, right? And we're doing all the other things, where they only need that one. And oftentimes we find is that our customers will come to us for time entry, then they go, oh my gosh, you guys can build out a production report for me and track maintenance on all of my equipment. And then also within that production daily report, track what the guys are doing on the job and just coding and things like that. We have the ability to do it. So we have the ability to build out these applications or these solutions for our customers very, very quickly. I won't get into the IT side of that or how we develop that, but what I'm going to show you right now, we actually built in about a week and are deploying this to a lot of our clients. And this is just one quick example. So whether this is applicable to you or not, I think it's still applicable to everybody here because it is going to show you some of the capability that when you engage core cloud systems, whatever your needs are, we can accommodate those. So, and how we would accommodate. So we have these apps that you can do here instead of going to another vendor. And this would be kind of an add-on module to the basic eForm setup I already showed you. So in here, I'm going to go to my credit card application. And within my credit card application, I'm relying on my internet connection. So I'll set this up, and the idea here is that we could do our reconciliation in core cloud systems instead of having to do any of it in Timber. The same way that I collected the information in that form for point and click drop downs from my phone or from my tablet, I would do here. So let me walk you through this. The idea is that we would import our credit card statement through a CSV or an Excel file into this top area here. In this case, is my notes. Okay. As soon as we import that file, you see that top left button. It's going to fill the left side with all of the transactions that are included in that statement. On the right side, it has all of the receipt images with the coded transactions from the field. So everybody who submitted those. Now to reconcile these, it's as difficult as clicking reconcile. So what that did is that just matched the transactions from my statement to the transactions that were submitted based on the card number, amount, vendor, etc. Now what we do with the ones, what do we do about the kind of herding cat situation with getting receipts in the door? How do we get those receipts that have not been entered before? So we have this retrieve receipt button here. This will pull up an email and attach the transactional information that is applicable here. Send the email off to that guy and say, hey, can you get your receipt back to us? The rest of the transactions that match, I have here at the bottom. And to go ahead and add a cost code, I have my cost codes, job codes, GL account codes set up in this particular app. This is for one of our customers, a design that they came up with, but the credit card application looks different depending on your needs. So in this case, they're tracking cost code. That guy didn't enter the cost code for whatever reason, so we went ahead and added it. He got the job code wrong. I don't know how. He must have bumped his head, but we'll go ahead and fix it for him. And we can go ahead and put in our GL account code. You know, any of the stuff here, we can make sure that we fix it and tailor it before we just send it in. Once we're done here, we're going to take this reconciliation that we just did and transfer it to TimberScan. That's going to send it either as a detailed list of transactions or a summary of the transactions into TimberScan with that statement. And so this is going to be kind of as an invoice at that point in final review. Once you've approved it out of final review in TimberScan, it will then move to Timberline, so we can go ahead and pay that vendor, or if we're paying all the guys individually, we've got a lot of different options there. So this is a very simplified version of some of the applications that we're building out in Core Cloud and some of the flexibility that we have. And I find that anytime you're talking with a software vendor, I don't want to be stuck in whatever you guys said I need. I want to be able to tell you what I need and then have that delivered to you at a good cost. So.
One thing I wanted to mention about the credit card app, we have it in about 8 clients right now. We have e-forms, call processes that are focused on our clients. So what happened with this is many clients, they want a different workflow. So at this point, we have 3 different workflows on your credit cards that are totally different workflows. Sometimes this workflow works where you want to pay vendor Amex directly and then have all the transactions in your books. Other people say, well, we want transactions to hit our books immediately so that the costs are there right from day one. So we have a workflow for that. And then we have a third workflow, which is similar to Concur, where we don't even have to go through this grid, where you have another grid coding right from the grid. So this is just one example of how this works.
That's all I got. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining the session.